Here we are once again with Centurion Holdings LLC. I'm Will, your Director of Training. With me today is Carrington, Royce Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Brown Belt. And today we're going to show you some submissions from the mount position. All right, so the first one we're going to do today is just a very simple, basic, traditional armbar. So basically, I'm going to smother this guy. He's going to panic and he's going to try to bench press me off of him and push him up. He's extending his arms and the extended limb is a broken limb. First, I'm going to put weight on him and make him carry me a little bit. My hands are going to go inside and one on the outside. The one that I'm going outside of, that's the arm that I'm going to be taking. I'm going to give him all my weight and put all my pressure here into his chest. And I'm going to swing this leg around. Again, the same leg that's on the arm that's on the outside, that same side, all the way over his head, changing my angle so that I'm facing the wall over here. And we're going to sit back and take this arm bar. We have a small progression we do when we teach this, especially to beginners. And because if I just show you that right there, people look at you and go, I can't move like that. That's okay. This is how we learn. So the first thing we do is I give him the smother. He does the press. Weight on him. Make him carry you. Hands in position. One inside, one outside. I put the weight on him, and the first thing I'm just going to do is pop up and leave my hips low. I'm just going to pop up. Keep my hips low. Don't do this. I want to keep my butt and my hips low. Once I've gotten comfortable with that, we start that whole process over again. I smother, he presses, weight on, hands in position, and this time when I pop, I'm going to start my turn. Don't kick your partner in the head, but this leg is going to set my foot here. Again, my hips low, and I move. Hips stay low, and I move. And you see that now we're incorporating that angle in. Once we get comfortable with that, we start this whole motion. Weight on, inside, outside, and as I do that pop, let that leg float all the way over my partner's head so that I've got him contained here. Hit the wrist, and as I sit back, my knees squeeze together, and if I need to, I can raise my hips. Low pop. The second part of the progression, angle pop. The last part, full on arm bar. And that's just how we teach a traditional arm bar. So the second arm bar we're going to do, very similar to the traditional arm bar, this is just a modified version. Sometimes I know some of us have hip issues, have mobility issues, lower back issues, may not be able to swing all the way into that position. And sometimes it's not always the smartest thing to do, because if this guy's really good, which Carrington is, and I start moving to do this swing, he can block and follow me up. And now we're fighting off my back, where a minute ago I was on the top position. So to avoid that possible scenario, we have a modified out of a Z-mount armbar. Starts the same way. I smother, he pushes up. Weight stays on him, one hand inside, one hand outside. The difference here, instead of this leg coming over his head, is I'm going to take this knee, once I put all that pressure on him, I'm going to put that in his ear. This leg, I slide up this way. If you're flexible enough and you can pop into this Z-mount position at one time, great. I'm old, doesn't happen that way anymore. So that leg goes straight first and collects this arm. So once I'm in this position, I want to make sure that I'm seated with my weight on my partner, on his chest, not out here. If I sit down on this leg, he's going to roll into you, you're going to lose this position. I keep my hips up, and I keep my weight on him. He's going to be uncomfortable for just a minute. It's okay, he gets to go next. So I've got his arm, I'm going to take my inside arm and hook this and push his head with my outside arm, stiff arm. I'm going to lean toward his feet. That makes this foot light. Now it comes around, and again, same sequence as before, my knees squeeze together, I'm controlling his arm, and we extend it. So again, starts the same. I smother, he presses, weight on, inside, outside. Now my knee comes up to his ear, foot comes around. Inside arm controls the wrist. Push the head, lean, leg comes around. I'm not crossing my ankles. I sit back, squeeze the knees, and extend the arm. This allows me a little more time when I'm in that position. This may be Uncle Bob at the family barbecue who's had just a little too much adult courage, and he doesn't need his arm broken. He just needs to learn to relax. This could be a position with a law enforcement officer who's controlling the suspect and doesn't want to go into an excessive force situation and possibly break somebody's arm, where I can actually, when he's pushing here, and I can get into this position, and now I've controlled both of his arms, I can control his head, and we can have a conversation. He can bridge and buck all he wants. Yeah, it's fine. I've got position, I've got control. So this makes a good control position without losing it. And then if we need to, again, control it, stiff arm it, lean it outside, and right to the arm bar. All right, so the third one we're going to do today is a very simple Americana from a mount position. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go 2-on-1, my hands on his wrist. And contrary to what a lot of people will do, I stiff arm, and I'm going to push this straight into his sternum first. I don't like to just try to drive straight over to the side. A lot of these, when you do a lot of guys nowadays that are just diesel, they're hard to push, can't move their arms for anything. I drive it into the chest first, straight down into his chest first. That starts me with setting the arm up. Now while they're trying to figure out what I'm doing, now I slide it across the chest. Again, my arms stay locked the whole time as I slide this down, and I let the body weight do that work. Now my elbow will bend. It goes right next to his ear. Be careful when you're learning this. Don't elbow your partner in the face. Now this hand, I go palm up, and I'm going to come under his arm, right around his triceps, and I'm going to grab my wrist. I have his wrist, I have my wrist. I want to keep his hand flat to the floor. The moment you start lifting his hand up, you take pressure off of his shoulder, which is what we're trying to work on. I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to pull everything tight and then start to raise that shoulder or the elbow. So again, I go stiff arm, 2-on-1 into the chest first. I put all that weight on it just like I did for the arm bar. Now I'm going to let that slide, drive to the floor, stiff arm to pin. Now my elbow bends by his ear, push his head over, under his arm, grab my wrist, pull all of this down to tighten everything up, and then start to raise the elbow. This hand never leaves the floor. It stays tight to the floor the whole time, and as that starts to come up, it drives back. 2-on-1, stiff arm into the chest, let it slide over, elbow by the ear, push the head underneath, my wrist, his wrist, pull it tight, and start to raise. Leave that hand on the floor at all times. And that's the Americana. So today we've covered a couple of things out of the mounted position. We started out with a traditional arm bar and the pop drill into how we get that arm bar. We did a modified arm bar out of a Z-mount and how we get into that. And then we did an Americana. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you check us out on all the social media platforms. Make sure you check out the website, CenturionHoldingsLLC.net, and we'll see you next time.